Okay, we're here today with Lori Weir, who's the curator for the Kern County Museum.
Hello.
And we are looking at what I think is a really cool map. And this came to me because I had done a couple of stories on Kern County's history, and a local resident said that the people were clearing out warehouses and throwing out old Kern County Land Company stuff, asked his dad if he wanted this, and it was an old map that was on a wooden scroll. His dad said, heck yeah, I want it. And anyway, and then it came to the owner, and the owner brought it in for us to kind of look at, and so I called Lori, because I'm not the expert. So tell me what you think of this map, Lori.
From my own personal experience, the map is really fun to look at because there are a lot of ranches that I've heard the names or seen photographs of, but I didn't know exactly their location or their relationship to each other, which is kind of neat. Also, there's ranches that I've never heard of, like this Evergreen Ranch. I've never heard of that before. Some of the other areas that sort of spring to mind are the Colonies from the Kern County Land Company aren't here, and certainly it looks like this predates the formation of the land company, which would make sense.
Right.
And colonies were basically like a piece of land that they would divide up and sell farms and things like that.
Like a 20-acre farm,
right?
100-acre
Exactly. And they would print up brochures that would advertise the wonderful crops that can be grown, and trying to attract people from the East Coast,
right,
or
we had
Midwest out to.
I know we had the
California.
Union Colony, and we had the Rosedale Colony. I don't really remember what the other ones were.
I don't either, off the top of my head.
But they're not on here, and that was like 1890s. So this
right.
We're trying to also pinpoint the year that this map was created because there's no date on here. So we're thinking it's post 1874.
Because of the railroad, sure.
Because of the railroad, and pre 1890 for sure, because Kern County Land Company was created in 1890, and it says this land is by J.B. Hagan, who was one half of Kern County Land Company, so obviously wasn't formed yet. So between 1874 and 1890.
Well, and a lot of the ranches that you see listed here, like the McMillan Ranch, the Buena Vista Ranch, the Bellevue Ranch, Stockdale Ranch, Carlton Watkins came through. He was a pretty famous California photographer, and he came through in 1888 predominantly, but some in 1889 as well, and photographed a lot of these ranches for the Kern County Land Company.
Right, and none of these are photographs. These are all drawings here, sort of featuring some of those ranches, so it could be pre-1888.
Exactly.
So we're kind of narrowing down.
Yeah.
Post-1874, pre-1888.
And it's so funny to see how tiny Bakersfield is. It's just this little subdivision here.
Bakersfield kind of burned down in what, 1888?
It burned down twice. So in the 1880s, and I believe it was 89, and then in 1998, or 1898.
Would you be hoping to maybe add this to your collection if the owner was so inclined?
That would be wonderful, yes. We've actually talked about doing some field trips and that sort of thing for the museum, and having the locations of these maps, it would be great to be able to then put that on a modern map and be able to drive out and say, this is what it looked like back then, this is what it looks like now, because like I said, we've got all those photos from the late 1880s that Watkins took.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed about this map when I first looked at it, and it's kind of dark and it's a little faded, but there's lots and lots of trees, and like everywhere, and those trees don't exist anymore today.
Well, and even growing up in Bakersfield, when I was a kid and we'd head out to the coast for the weekend, there were oak trees that were kind of around the area of Stockdale Highway and Allen Road and that sort of thing. And yeah, you just don't see oak trees in the valley like that anymore.
No. Here we were talking about Buena Vista and Kern Lake, not on this map. Now, is there
maybe too far south, or that would be my guess, is that it's not far enough south, but you definitely get Goose Lake, which is here, and Tulare Lake, which, now if you drive up I-5, it's just a dusty spot in the road.
Right, yeah. Right.
Before you get to Kettleman City.
And then the other interesting thing is it shows these other railroads. It shows the Southern Pacific here as being established, and that we know was built in 1874. But these other railroads, the Atlantic and Pacific and the S&P, were just proposed on this map. So, I mean, I'd have to go back and look and see when those were built so we could try and pinpoint, narrow down even more. And here's Union Avenue, a dirt road.
So it looks like maybe they had thoughts of a Union Avenue colony at some point, because they've got the road. Of course, that would be the route to go over down to LA if you're going
Right,
through
well,
the grapevine.
it kind of stops right there, so
Right.
you can go on your own after that, I guess.
And of course, it's hard to see, but you get the road right next to Kern Island Canal, which is H Street now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Bakersfield stopped at H Street. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that road in earlier times was called Kern Island.
Oh, I
and there was a development down there as well, and they brought people from the south out to pick cotton on a 1-year contract, and they'd provide beans and flour and things like that. And of course, Hop Ranch, they use hops for brewing beer, so that was an important thing.
Well, I guess we'll continue to work on this and figure out and try and report back and see what we can find out about this map.